How we doing? This is Fox back again for sound design tutorials. Still following on with the deconstruction of this Electro Track I made using only Native Instruments Massive. We've come along to this sort of distorted phasing bass today. It's another layer. All four basses are layered together. You've got all four of them hitting at the same time at this part of the sound, which sounds like this. Today we're going to be taking care of this sort of paddy distorted bit that's underlying everything else, which is this. Sounds quite electrified. That's all to do with the wave shape and distortion plugin that I've got on the strip itself, and also the phaser, which is the main tool for sculpting this sound. I've got some phase modulation on the modulation oscillator as well, which helps. Also a parabolic shaper, a dimension expander, all adds to that sort of phasey, sort of wide sort of sound that this is giving us. I've got no extra voices of unison. All the width and everything comes from all the effects, as I say, the phaser, the parabolic shaper, the dimension expander, all sort of pushing and smearing the sound across the spectrum. Love this patch, absolutely love it, well plays with it. So yeah, without further ado, I will say quickly that as I say, this is part of this Electro Track that I've been making. This is going to be available to download direct through me for £10 British. If you want this project, you can get everything in it. All of the patches, what you see in these tutorials, all of them are going to be linked also to the full track workout where you can watch me make this track from scratch. So yeah, if you want this project file, Ableton project file, all you need is Native Instruments Massive and Live 9. Get in touch with me. How you get in touch with me is either email or Twitter. The link is in the description at the bottom. So yeah, we'll go ahead and initialize this. So yeah, quite involved this one. I only used 2 oscillators. Both of them are scrapyard. So oscillator 1 and 2 are both scrapyard. I normally use this for when I'm making drum and bass. That's the reason why it is good for some electro patches as well. There's a lot of harmonics in it. A lot of variance in the wavetables, which you can make the most of by adding LFOs and stuff like that, which we're going to do later on. But for now, we're going to pitch this one down 2 octaves, -24, and then we're going to offset it to -23.93, just to detune it slightly. This one's going to go the other way, -24.08, just so they're starting to smear them apart from each other. All helps give it extra width without actually adding any more voices of unison. Keep both the amps on full, both of them routed only to filter 1. I'm only going to use 1 filter for this sound. The wavetable position for oscillator 1 we want to set about 11 o'clock, and for 2 you want it all the way down to dead 0. It's quite meaty already. We're going to modulate both these wavetable positions with an LFO later on. I chose 2 different warp modes. Oscillator 2 I kept on spectrum. Oscillator A I changed to bend negative, and I had the intensity on about 4 o'clock. Again, because they're the same waveform, just to try and chop it up, just to make it a little bit different. As I say, both of them routed only to filter 1. Keep it in series mode, even though we're only using 1 filter, it doesn't matter. Turn filter 2 off. Volume to filter 1 on full. Keep the mix all the way up to 1 as well. As I say, we're only using 1 filter, it's only going to come out of filter 1. Okay, so no third oscillator for this one, only used the 2. I didn't want it to be really bassy. I say I've got a lot of other sub elements in the bass patches that we've done before. So yeah, the modulation oscillator that I used was phase of oscillator 1 via oscillator 2. Didn't change the pitch of it at all, just turned it on, pulled it down to about 10 o'clock. I'll show you this without and then with. with, obviously you can hear no phasing, without, sorry, and with. Start to smear it across the spectrum, like I said earlier, start to chop it up a bit, make it a little bit different. I don't use any noise oscillator or no feedback, so you can turn those two off. We'll do set the routing up quick, and then in the main oscillator section. In the main oscillator section, double click this decay, just to make sure the internal envelope is a pure triangle like that. And in the routing section, I'll do this in most of my patches, click this top B so this orange line throws all the way through, and we want to make sure it's going to FX1 first. That's it. So I don't do anything in the voicing section because it's a bass patch. I want to keep it nice and mono. So for now we'll carry on with the two insert effects. The first one is going to be a parabolic shaper. The dry wet down at 0. The drive down on 0. We're going to flick this around with an envelope later on. Only a tiny amount. You're not going to hear it for now. That's the only insert effect we use. We'll set the master envelope up. Oh, it's okay. It's already done. So yeah, we'll go ahead and set envelope 2 up now actually, and then we'll go to the filter section. So I used envelope 2 to do a couple of bits of modulation. I pushed the attack all the way around to about 2 o'clock. So it's going to take quite a while over this attack time for it to do whatever we want it to do. Push the level up just shy of maximum. Keep the release where it is as standard. So yeah, we want this to modulate the dry wet for the parabolic shaper. That means over the attack time that we specify, it's going to turn this dry wet knob round however long we tell it to. And we're going to drag it across, just push it round to there, just before 9 o'clock. That means it's going to add just a tiny bit of bite and a bit of this parabolic shaping towards the end of the longer notes. Okay, that's it. We're going to set the filter up. I use a comb filter for this. If you turn it on and off a comb filter, you can hardly hear any difference. The main thing to do with a comb filter is to modulate the pitch or the cutoff. As you sweep the comb through the frequency, it gives it a sort of phasing effect. Everything wanted to be phasey on this patch for some reason. So pull the damping down to about 10 o'clock. Feedback to about 11. We're going to use this envelope 2 to modulate this pitch. First modulation box, drag it down to about 10 o'clock. That means over this attack time it's going to twist this pitch knob left and right, which is going to give it that phasing sort of change in the pitch feel. That's almost like creating a phaser without using a phaser. That's a neat trick, that is, if you need more than 2 phases or 3 phases or something. If you want an extra phasing effect and you don't want to use it in one of the effect chains, modulate the pitch cutoff of a comb filter with an envelope. Nice, simple, easy trick. Okay, don't use filter 2, as I say, everything's routed to filter 1 and going out only through filter 1. Just the 2 master effects now. So FX1, I use a dimension expander. I'll set the dry wet to about 9 o'clock, the size where it comes as standard. So without and with. I said it last time, and somebody pointed out to me as well, you really need to watch this master volume when you're adding any sort of these effects. It tends to just increase the volume tenfold. If you notice it clipping, just be sure to pull it down. Just keep them red lines out the top. Clipping is bad. Okay, just a phaser now. We've already got that phaser feel, but I did use another one. I'll set the dry wet on 11 o'clock. Rate to about 10 o'clock. Feedback to about 11. And depth about 10. So 11, 10, 11, 10. So without the phaser. And with. That's what gives it that metally sheen. Whether the rate is going opposite to the pitch cutoff that I did with a comb filter, I don't know. But yeah, that really does help spice the patch up a little bit. The only other thing now is a tiny bit of EQing I did at the end of the chain. So click it, turn it on. Boosted the low shelf a bit because it was a bass patch. Pull the boost down to about 10 o'clock. Frequency to about 11. Get rid of quite a lot of the highs about 10 o'clock again. Same again, like as we've added that phaser and the EQ, it's clipping again, so pull it down a notch until you get rid of those red lines. Right, final bit more modulation we're going to do. We're going to use an LFO to modulate the wavetables of these now. This is really going to gritty it up even more. So we're going to use LFO 5. If you double click on it, we are going to set the ratio. So we're going to sync it to the clock. We're going to set the ratio to 1/2, so it's going to take half a bar for it to do its cycle. We are going to keep it only on a sine wave, so push it to the top, so the crossfade curve, we're only going to use this sine wave. Didn't mean to do that. Keep the phase where it is as standard. Make sure this envelope matches the oscillator envelope that we set up earlier. Double click the decay. Yeah, and that's it. As I say, all we need to do is tell it what we want it to modulate now. So we want it to modulate the wavetable of oscillator A and oscillator B. Oscillator A, we want it to go negative. I'll keep playing the sound and I'll pull this down so you can hear what it's doing. And we want it to modulate positive on oscillator B. Modulating it to a half bar gives it sort of a pumping feel as well. Sort of every other kick you're going to hear that sort of throbbing sound where it's sweeping through the wavetable position. But for now, yeah, that's the patch done. I'm going to call this Phasing Electro Bass. It's not really a bass, it's not really a pad, but it is quite heavy and electric, so it deserves the name Electro. Yeah, that is it. I'll play it with the other basses and with the drums and everything, so you can see if you can hear it underneath the rest of the sounds. There you go, nice phasing electro bass. As I said earlier, this project file, if you enjoyed this or you like any of the patches that I've made in this, you can get all these patches and the drums and everything laid out as you've seen here. The whole track you will get. £10 is the cost. If you're interested, the way to get hold of me is in the link in the description. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook and Google+. It's Sound Design Tutorials. As always, thanks for watching. Cheers.